everybody. It's episode 324 of PodQuest. It's Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. I am Chris. With me is Walnut.
Hey.
Yeah, the world hasn't officially ended yet, but we're close.
I mean, no matter who wins, America's still the true loser.
Everybody, or I'm sorry, it's nobody wins.
Nobody wins. Nobody.
Yeah, because no matter, honestly, like, there will be less rampant bullshit if Trump wins than if he loses.
Yeah, I am probably over the weekend going to, well, not probably. Yeah, probably over the weekend, whenever I'm in my house, especially if I'm by myself, I will probably make sure there is some sort of blade around me, because I'm expecting a full-on riot from the Proud Boys, and I just want to protect myself, just in case.
You live in the suburbs. No one's coming to the suburbs.
Doesn't matter.
But I saw on the news a little while ago that there were Trump supporters trying to storm the vote counting place in Michigan to make them stop counting votes.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
nope.
If that were to happen, they should just give Michigan to Biden.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, the first thing that went through my head with that is, so these people, probably a bunch of, overweight piece of shit white guys, will have nothing bad happen to them.
Yeah.
But yet if a black kid just happened to be walking past that building, probably would get shot 5 times just for being black.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, really, like, at that point, they are now domestic terrorists. They should all be locked up and executed.
Yeah, if they're conspiring to raid a building, they are terrorists and should be locked up and sent to Guantanamo Bay or wherever you fucking send terrorists.
But not under Trump. Just like the domestic terrorism that happened a few years ago in North Carolina. Like,
yeah.
Nope. Those guys are all fine people, according to the Trump administration.
There's good people on both sides. Oh, my goodness.
Well, just because we open with that, I just want to... I threw this on the outline. Yesterday, my YouTube TV like channel lineup, what the first one on... Well, it's not actually the first one, but like the first one I saw was ABC News's like election 2020 campaign coverage, whatever they were calling it.
Yes. Directly
underneath that, Freeform, all-day marathon of the Hunger Games.
That sounds about right. I wouldn't be surprised if like FX is doing Star Wars.
I did see Star Wars. Return of the Jedi was playing on something last night, but I don't know if that was just a like. It's one of those weird nights where you don't play new things anyway, so they just played a movie that they figured would get viewership.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, that was...
That's just... I mean, that's how we all feel. I drank 4 or 5 beers last night just because I wanted to sleep through the night. I was like, I know I'm not going to. I know I'm going to be too stressed to sleep. I'm just going to be eyes watching this. Let me just drink to get tired and go to bed. And that's what I did.
I slept fine. Like, I mean, it sucks to say this, but like, I'm in the demographic that no matter who wins, like, my life doesn't change all that much.
Yeah.
I still care who wins, but it's not like causing me a lack of sleep.
You acknowledge your privilege and you try to potentially use that to better other people's. You vote for the right person. I'm assuming you didn't vote for Trump.
No, God, no.
Then I actually had a friend who voted for the first time in his life, and he is 3 years older than me.
I mean, it sucks to say it, but like in New Jersey, like his vote didn't count. Like,
yeah, and that has been on my mind for the past 4 years because Clinton won the popular vote, Trump won the Electoral College, and watching all this stuff, Biden so far has 3 million, estimated about 3 million more votes than Trump. Like, I just want to shout to the world, states don't vote, people do. Fuck the Electoral College.
Yeah, I mean, like, really, the entire government has to sort of get redone, because, like, honestly, like, and people argue this all the time, but, like, the Constitution needs to be just thrown out and rewritten.
Yeah, I think...
everything on that was based around what the culture was like in 1776.
Yeah.
Like, none of that holds true anymore.
I think I heard somebody say that it was supposed to be looked into, reviewed, and rewritten, like, every 5 to 10 years.
Instead, though, like, especially Republicans, they fucking cling to that piece of paper like it's a life raft.
They cling to it like it's a life raft, and then they ignore the Bill of Rights where it says you separation of church and state. You do not make laws in respect to religion and say gay marriage is bad because God says so.
Yeah, exactly.
So they pick and choose what they want to agree with, which is right now why Trump is suing states because they're continued counting, and they're trying to stop counting because they want to pick and choose their own rules so that they can continue to win. And that's not how it works.
Yeah, and honestly, if anyone upholds that and that causes him to win, that means America is no longer a democracy. We will never have another presidential election.
Exactly.
He will find a way to overturn the amendment that limits presidents to 2 terms, and will just continue to run over and over again until that fat piece of shit dies.
Yeah, and then also on top of that, we still have a turtle for now his 7th term in the Senate, so that just pisses me off.
Yeah, every branch should have term limits. You shouldn't be able to run for a position like that for your entire life.
I think this is Lindsey Graham's 4th term, and this is Mitch McConnell's 7th term. And I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, I was looking at people, and on both sides, there was, I forget if it was this, I think it was a House member, a congressman, that has been a congressman since the 80s.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. That's longer than I've been alive. Yeah, that congressman has been running my life for as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, have a longer because I think most states the Senate is 2 years, some are 4 years, and I believe Congress is always 2. And it's you know what? Let them do 3 or 4 terms if it's a 2-year term. Sure, 6 to 8 years seems fair. That's how long a president can be in office.
I think it's congressional. I think it's 2 and 6 years.
Is it?
I'm looking it up now. Representatives serve 2 years, 2-year terms. So for the House, and Senate is 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it is. The House of Representatives gets voted every year, even at the midterms. Every 2 years, the House of Representatives gets voted on. Senate gets voted on every 2 years as well, or every year, I guess. But the midterms are usually when they're bigger, and they hold for a term and a half of a president. So Mitch McConnell is on his by the end of his term will be on his 36th year of being senator.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. At that point, if it's 6 years, there should be a 2-term limit, just like the president. You were then in office for more than a decade.
Yeah.
Let somebody else do it. And, at the very least, you shouldn't be able to be the party majority or minority leaders for more than, 1 term.
Yeah. But anyway, besides all that annoying political shit, we've got other news.
Yeah, so it's November, which means Extra Life is starting. So that's the yearly children's hospital fundraising that a lot of media outlets, streamers, influencers, etc. do, where they do long sets of streams playing video games to raise money for children's hospitals in their areas generally. Mm-hmm. I know Giant Bomb just started theirs this past weekend, or this past Monday. They had their first 24-hour stream on Monday, and then I believe it's this weekend. They have various people streaming throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other places are doing it. I know GameSpot has one coming up. Kind of Funny has theirs coming up also. So if you go to extra-life.org, you can actually look and see if streamers or media outlets or whatever that you particularly have a team. And if you stream yourself, you can join one of those teams and help raise money for your own local children's hospitals.
Yeah, because children's hospitals need funding. We need to protect the children.
Yeah, I know. I watched decent chunks of Giant Bomb stream. It was Dave Lang, who is something for Iron Galaxy, which they're the studio that does the Killer Instincts, and they do a lot of porting of games. He did 24 hours by himself, just straight through, and ended up hitting 25K, which was his little over 25K in the 24 hours, which was his goal.
Yeah,
and that all goes to a local Chicago children's hospital.
Yeah,
which he had some. So I don't know if they've done this in previous years, but they basically have Patreon, Kickstarter, reward tiers that you can add in. He had 3. It was $500 donation, and he will personally call you and give you a hype, hype you up for something.
Nice.
for $1,000, you can come out to Iron Galaxy Studio after like COVID stuff is under control.
Yeah.
And like hang out at the studio for the day, go to lunch with him and whoever else is like around. Travel is on that person, obviously.
Yeah.
And then for $5,000, he will fly to wherever that person is and hang out with them for a day.
That's dumb but amazing. I love it.
So they had one person donate $5,000.
Nice.
Yeah, and it happened, and like he actually stopped. I forget what he was playing at the time, but he stopped and was just like staring at it, like, "Huh? Well, I guess I'm coming to see you. Don't be weird."
Yeah, I guess I'm making a new friend. I guess.
Yeah, but that stuff's it's always a good time. Like the outlets that do it have fun with it. They all of them do like goofy little like incentives. Like once we hit this mark, such and such will happen.
Yeah.
So it's a fun time, and it's for a good cause. So
nice.
Yeah. Speaking of fun times, over the weekend, Erica and I played the new game in the Dark Pictures Anthology, which is Little Hope. Okay, so this is Supermassive, the Until Dawn people.
Okay.
This is the follow up to Man of Medan from last year.
Okay.
So it's one of those like interactive horror film, basically. Did you ever play Until Dawn? I forget.
I started to forever ago, but never actually got into it. I had somebody over and we started to play together, but then shit happened with that person. I don't talk to them anymore.
It happens. Yeah, so this one, same gameplay style. Like, it's a lot of, like, walking around, investigating things, some quick time events, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Way more horror, scary sort of atmosphere than the previous one. Man of Medan was like some college kids on, like, a boat trip that they basically get hijacked by some, like, shitty pirates and end up on a World War II era, like, battleship that was lost at sea and everyone died on.
Okay.
And, like, that one was interesting, but, like, not really scary. This one actually had some legitimate, like, jump scares. The setup is, it's 5 characters are on a bus. Not including the driver. The driver would be 6, but you don't play as him.
Okay.
They're on a bus. Their bus gets rerouted, through this town called Little Hope. And the bus ends up, like, getting in an accident. It flips. People are, strewn about and everything. And when the people, like, wake up from the accident, they're trying to leave, and they can't. Like, they literally keep... The game actually does this really cool thing where they try to go back to the bus after they've kind of, like, wandered away from it, and it keeps, like, looping them back to where the other people are.
Okay.
So, like, 2 people try to leave, and it just brings them, like, right back to the other people. And then everyone leaves, and it just brings them right back to that same spot at, like, the edge of town base. And the game actually does that throughout the game. If you're going in like, a direction, and it, like, splits, and the game needs you to go to one way because, like, the other way will be, like, something later, if you walk in the other direction, it will just kind of fade entirely to black. And then when you'll kind of walk through it and just come up, like, turned around, like, back where you started.
Okay.
Which is, it's kind of neat, because it adds that, like, horror element while also walling the game so that you're not missing things.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. It's good that they did that.
It does the same multiplayer thing that Man of Medan did, where there's 2 multiplayer options, as well as playing by yourself. You can do, like, couch co-op, essentially, where up to 5 people can play, and it's just past the controller. The game just tells you, like, hey, it's such and such's turn, and you just hand in a controller. Mm-hmm. Everyone picks one of the 5 characters that are playable, and you kind of go from there.
Yeah.
The other option is, like, an online multiplayer, where I don't know if you can do more than 2 people. I've only ever seen 2 people do it, but, like, each person gets a couple of the characters, and they play simultaneous. Mm-hmm. So, like, if we were playing like, together, I might be playing as one character, you're playing as another one. If we're playing 2 characters that are, like, together at the moment, we can, like, walk around and, like, look at the same things and, like, discuss it over, like, chat or whatever. But if my character and your character get separated, we're just going to be doing 2 totally different things and have to kind of, like, fill each other in as we do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because you're then kind of relying on the other person to help, because there's things in the game that help lead you to, like, the answer of what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's also you'll find these postcards all over the place that are, like, turned down, and when you look at them, you get, like, a little premonition of something. A lot of them are, like, a premonition of how one of the characters may die.
Yeah.
And because it's one of those sort of open-ended games, it can be like all your characters die, none of your characters die, some of your characters die, which can get rough too. Because like when we were playing, all of Erica's characters died. So at a certain point, like I was the only one playing for like the last like hour or so.
Yeah,
it's also it took about 5 to 6 hours to play through.
That's not bad. Like they're made to be like interactive movies, so like not playing through in one go is not a big deal. But generally, you should be able to play through it in one go because it's just supposed to be like what happens and how do you do this, and it's an interactive movie in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Like we started around like 11:30, 12 o'clock on Sunday, and we finished. We stopped and had dinner at one point and like walked the dogs and all that stuff. But I think we were done the game by like 6:30, 7.
Yeah.
So we probably had like an hour and a half, 2 hours in the middle, like between like pausing it for different things, like taking the dogs out, all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's only $30 too, so
that's not bad. Not bad at all.
And it's one of those games where because there's different ways that you can do things, there's lots of collectibles to find and stuff like that. There is a certain amount of replay value to it.
Yeah, and there's essentially 7 different endings.
No, it looks. So I looked it up because I'm usually not one to play multiple things or things multiple times. There's 3 possible endings for how it can go, but like there's different ways that you could be interacting with the characters, and so the characters that we had die, when they would die, the spirit that was killing them, it would like zoom in on the spirit's eye for a second, and then it would show some sort of like character trait, but they always had a lock on. So I'm wondering if that character was pushed more in that trait, if it would have like unlocked like a different scene or if like something different would have happened during those death scenes.
Maybe they might not have died.
Oh no, I'm like they probably would have certainly died because they were all negative character traits.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we generally tried to play them as like decent people for the most part. It's the characters, it's 3 like late teen, early 20 college students. They're 40-ish year old professor and what they call a mature student who is a woman probably in her late 40s, early 50s. All kind of like wandering this town, and there's a lot of creepy coincidences going on. You find pictures of people that look just like you, or your characters, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's in Massachusetts, I believe. I want to say it's like Little Hope, Massachusetts. So the whole thing is sort of framed around like 1600s, like witch trials and accusations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's these sections where like this spirit will show up and like grab one of the characters, and you'll then have this scene play through where it's back in like Pilgrim era, where like people are being accused of like witchcraft and they're having the trials and stuff like that. And as the story plays out, like you'll see some of these characters actually like get murdered all the different ways that witches were murdered back then, like, thrown into rivers while wrapped in chain, crushed with stones, hung, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
One big complaint I have, and it's they did this in the last one. So there's 5 playable characters. If you're playing with just 2 people, that does not divide evenly.
No.
There's also no indication as to like percentages of how much like a character will be playable. So like there are sections where like rather than it going like back and forth between characters, it's like, oh, I play for like an hour and a half and then I give it to Erica and she plays for 15 minutes and then I play for another hour, or vice versa.
Yeah, that sucks.
And at the beginning of the Man and Madame was the same way with like number of characters and sort of how it separated them. Both games have like this introductory chapter, let's call it, where there is one character, player 1 gets locked with them, like they have to play as them, but it always takes place in the past. Man and Madame, it was World War II, you were a soldier, and in Little Hope, you're like a teenager in like the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's one of those things where they use that little bit to start up the story so you kind of understand the setting, and also show you a bunch of the mechanics that you'll have to deal with throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's their 6th character, quote unquote. It's only one time. It's like 15 minutes, if that, and player 1 is locked to it. So if you do their like auto assign and you just have 2 players, they give player 1 2 characters because technically they have a 3rd by default, and then they give player 2 3 characters.
Okay.
And like it always breaks up that way. Like you're always going to have 3 and 2 unless like one of your players doesn't want more than 1 character or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know, like add another character, let it break down equally, and just let that prologue character be a prologue character. Don't even show them as a playable character.
Yeah, that or, like, they don't even need to have it break down with 6 players, but, like, maybe, like, even out the character changes, or don't determine the player who's going to be the characters until the character change happens. So, like, if you're player 1 and you play as, say the main guy's name is Joe, and you play as Joe for a half hour, and then it changes to Jane, that's player 2. And then player 2 plays until it changes again, and then you're player 3, or you're player 1 again. And then, like, once those the characters are determined that way, that's when it sticks with the player per character.
Yeah, I think having a percentage, like, of the character when you select them, especially when you're just 2 players. Like, as you add characters, like, show, like, a little percentage over it of a clean playthrough where nobody dies, what the percentage of gameplay that player might get.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I add 3 characters and it says I'm going to have 90% of the gameplay, and Erica's only going to have 10 with her too, it's like, okay, so one of these characters takes up a larger chunk than the others. Let's redistribute.
Yeah, swap it around.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, overall, like I enjoy those games. Like, the gameplay isn't anything special. It's some quick time events. It's a lot of, like, walking around and, like, looking for things, and there's a cool narrator sort of bit that falls between chapters, essentially. It's like opening, beginning, and then the, like, chapter breaks throughout it, or acts. They call them acts, where he is the curator of these stories that you are helping to finish. Because basically, like, he picks up a book and he's like, as you can see, this book isn't completed. You're going to complete it.
Okay.
But, like, he'll occasionally, like, pop in, like, especially between acts, be like, well, you fucked up. Like, such and such is dead. You didn't find all the secrets. There were so many other things left. Like, he doesn't give you, like, exact numbers, but he basically says, like, you missed some things.
Yeah.
You should have done better.
Yeah.
He looks very much like Robert Patrick, but is not Robert Patrick.
Okay.
Which that's the T-1000 from Terminator 2, if you don't know who Robert Patrick is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at one point they do tease the next one, which is due out in 2021, and it's going to be called House of Ashes. The little bit of, like, tease that we got in it looks like it's going to be some sort of, like, outdoor adventure in, like, maybe, like, the mountains or something like that, or maybe a jungle. It appears that you're a military unit, or at least with a military unit. You're in a bunch of, like, army choppers.
Yeah.
In the trailer. There's definitely at least one main female character that doesn't appear to be military. One of the little flashcard things you find is definitely a possible death for that character on, like, a rock climbing thing. So, definitely a playable character.
Okay. Yeah.
But they don't really give you much else for these games. Like, the teasers are always very small, and it's basically just to show you what the setting kind of is and what the title is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're worth checking out. And they're short. So, both of them, I think they do sell a 2-pack where you can buy both games for $60, or you can just buy them for $30 and play them at your leisure.
Yeah. I would, if I were to get them, I would get one, try it out, and then get the other.
I would definitely say if you're going to get one, I would get Little Hope over Man of Medan first, particularly if you're looking for something with more of a horror vibe.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I would play games like that, is for the horror vibe.
Yeah, like, this one has, like, a legitimate, like, there are some legitimate jump scares in it, but, like, you're always a little tense trying to figure out, like, what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, you played the Age of Calamity, the Hyrule Warriors demo.
Yes, it is available on Switch. The game comes out in a week, I think.
Oh, wow. For some reason, I didn't realize it was that soon.
It comes out sometime in November. I feel like the 12th is a date in my head right now, but it might be like the 20-something.
So the 12th is a Friday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Because no, wait. No, that's a Thursday. So it would be the 13th if it's anything. The 20th. I just looked it up.
The 20th. Okay, so I wasn't too far off. Only 8 days. But it comes out on the 20th, and with the direct that they had last week, they said that the Hyrule Warriors demo will be up. It is a playable demo that saves your progress, and if you decide to get the game after playing the demo, you can continue from where you left off. I've played for maybe, I think like an hour and a half. I was playing it while drinking and watching election coverage last night, so like I can't fully remember how long I played it for. I was playing it to like take my mind off of the election coverage while also watching coverage. But it's good. I like it. It is very, like, Dynasty Warriors-esque, Hyrule Warriors-like. I've only played as 3 characters so far, Impa, Zelda, and Link. Zelda I don't really like, because she doesn't actually fight. She uses the Sheikah Slate to use the abilities in that, and it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, that is kind of dumb.
But, like, it's also weird because you hit one of the, I think it's R, and then you use one of the face buttons, and you also use the Sheikah Slate abilities. So, like, her attack is using the Sheikah Slate, and then you have cooldown usable Sheikah Slate abilities, and it's dumb, and she attacks slow. I hope she gets better. I hope maybe she gets different ways to attack and fight. But overall, I don't like her. Impa and Link are really good. It gives this whole overworld. It uses the map from Breath of the Wild, and you can go and do different, like, submissions to get more equipment. You can do side objectives, like giving all kinds of food to open up different shops to make to be able to cook food before a mission to make you, like, either stronger. Doing the side objectives will, like, give you better weapons or more combos for a character or more hearts. I got to a point where I think I can go unlock more characters, but I didn't continue playing from there because I was kind of getting tired and didn't want to play it anymore at that time.
Do you think you're going to buy it?
Yeah, I really want it. I'm super interested in it. That's the other reason why I kind of stopped playing, was, like, I don't want to play too much of it and then, like, be worn out from it, be fatigued from it. There's also, like, I'm sure I could level up all my characters to 99 and have no problem with the game once it comes out if I wanted to play that much. I'm not sure when the demo ends, how long it is, but I played for like an hour and a half, and that was enough for me to know that I did want to get it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, if you like those types of games, definitely check it out. I thought it was fun. Link fights really great. It has that, like, Breath of the Wild-esque combat system where, like, if you dodge properly, you get the flurry attack.
Okay. I forgot Breath of the Wild had that because it's been so long.
And when you do the flurry attack, when you're fighting the bigger enemies, they have, like, a shield bar, or, like, a shield circle, and then they have their health bar. If you can take down the shield circle, you get to use, like, a weak point attack, and I did that in quotes, even though you can't see it, where you basically kill them from that. So, like, the objective is either break their shields or just keep attacking them. And you can break the shields by either doing the flurry attack and dodging right, or if an enemy has, like, a long-range weapon that does a rush attack, as Link, you would use the ice Sheikah Slate ability, and he'll pop up in the air. The enemy will run into the ice, and that'll, like, stagger them to where then you can start attacking them and break down the shield. It's got some cool things like that. One of the side missions I did was there were explosive barrels laid all throughout the arena, and the best way you had to kill things as fast as possible to get the best reward, and you had to kill like 300 enemies. And so, like, basically you're just running around shooting your arrows at these bombs to kill as many enemies at a time. Yeah, it's cool. I've always liked those games, and I really liked Breath of the Wild, and I wanted to know, like, a a Calamity storyline. So it's gonna be. I'm super interested in getting this.
And you played Hyrule Warriors, like the base game too, right?
Yes, yeah, I did. I had it for the Wii, or was it the Wii U?
It's Wii U.
Okay, I had it for the Wii U. I think it came out for the Switch as well.
It did. Yeah, they had like a remastered version of it. Every Wii U game got remastered on the Switch at this point, except for like 2 of them.
Yeah, for the most part, I think so. Yeah. I never got the Switch version, but I really liked the overall story and gameplay of Hyrule Warriors, and they had this extra mode where you would wander the map of the original Legend of Zelda, and, like, based on the location you went to, it gave you, like, hidden secret objectives, and you could do them, and you could, like, it was all, like, end game stuff, like cosmetic things or different weapons and stuff, but it was kind of like a little neat system to keep you playing after you beat the game.
Okay.
I don't know if there's something like that in this one, but that was, like, a redeemable thing that I really liked about that one.
Yeah. I wonder how well this one do. I think Musou games don't sell terribly well most of the time. I think Hyrule Warriors did because it was Zelda, but I wonder, like, did enough people like it that they're going to buy this one?
I think it's not as much did enough people like it. It could be more of this is a canon storyline, whereas Hyrule Warriors wasn't. So, will people get it because it's canon or not? I think
I don't know if
more.
I don't know if that would be enough because the Zelda story is not all that important or good.
But like that's like in this one at least, like this game was big enough to get now a prequel and a sequel to it. Like,
oh yeah, no, I mean this was a very large game for them, but I feel like people liked Breath of the Wild for the gameplay. No one talks about the story because the story was basically non-existent.
Yeah,
like most Zelda games.
It was a lot more lacking than most Zelda games. Like all the story comes before it, pretty much. I mean, which is what Age of Calamity is.
Most Zelda games have little real story. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you get some setup and you get some like closure, but in the middle, there's not really any story.
But you can kind of argue that with a lot of RPGs. Like a lot of RPGs, you get the setup and then you go do the thing, and then you get the because like Skyward Sword, you get the setup, and then you learn about the different regions, and you go back down to the underworld, and then you find out that that's like the beginning of the entire Zelda saga. Like it does have like a good storyline to it in Skyward Sword.
But that's also the game that no one's to like out of the Zelda franchise.
People don't like that because of the control, because it was motion controls. I think that is like a game that people did actually like, but not a lot of people have played because it was the motion controls.
I don't know. I hear a lot more people when they're talking about Zelda games talk negatively about that one. That one and Twilight Princess, the two that people are the most down on. Even though, like in retrospect, like because back when they were actually releasing, it was everyone hated the idea of Wind Waker because it looked cartoony, and got super excited for Twilight Princess. But now they look back and it's like, oh yeah, Twilight Princess wasn't a very good. Yeah. Like it was fine. Like it's not bad.
I remember I didn't play Wind Waker, and I remember more of Wind Waker than I do of Twilight Princess, and I played and beat Twilight Princess.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's I felt Twilight Princess was good, but I was like, it's not memorable. It's just like you're Link, then you're a wolf, and it's dark and gritty, and you have a cat that's actually a princess, but she's not a princess, and she's not Zelda. There's a Zelda, and it was weird. And Ganon was or no, you did end up fighting Ganon at some point, I think, but the main protagonist in that wasn't Ganon. It was Zant.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. Yeah, I never actually played all of Twilight Princess.
Yeah, and Zant was basically General Zod. He was banished to like the Dark Realm in a mirror.
That seems about right.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. I don't remember any of the temples in that one.
I know there is one temple boss where you have to ride on that like Beyblade thing, like in like a circle around them. I only remember that one because it was on like a video I watched. But I remember when Twilight Princess came out, I bought it and I played a little bit of it, and I never got past the section where you were stuck as Wolf Link because I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until the remaster on the Wii U, like 5 or 6 years ago now, that like I picked it back up, and I played a decent chunk of it, but still fell off. And I'm like, it's dark. It's the combat's not particularly good. The dungeons aren't fun. Yeah. I'd rather just go back and replay Ocarina of Time and
yeah. But I don't know. I feel like because of the way the setup of Breath of the Wild was to find out what happened and what caused Link to have to be in stasis for 100 years, like that might be a big enough push. But also, I think, like you said, Hyrule Warriors did decently. They wouldn't make another game if it didn't do good enough to where they thought it would.
So, keep in mind, Nintendo's not making that game. Bandai is. Bandai Namco. They might be looking at it as like, well, this game sold more than our last Dynasty Warriors game, so let's just do it again and hope for the best.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. I will probably get it at launch. It comes out a week after the PS5, so
a week and a day.
I might not, because depending on what I get for the PS5, I'd probably want to play that more before I get Hyrule Warriors.
Just get them both. Treat yourself.
Dude, I'm spending too much money now for all this shit.
Nah, treat yourself. What else do you have? What else do you have to do? You can't go anywhere.
I know, but I have bills I have to pay, and I'm not getting paid out as much money as I thought I was going to for work, and it's annoying.
Yeah, that does suck.
I was, to make this as quick as possible, I was supposed to get, or at least I thought I was supposed to get, anywhere between 8 to 10 days paid out to me because of the company shut down. I'm getting 3, and I'm fighting that with them. So,
But, like, you still have a job, right?
I have a new job, yes, not with the company that showed down.
No, but with the company that you were basically doing the work for.
Yeah, I still have a job. But it's like, the time clock system showed when I first started back up that I had 16 PTO days to use, and then I used 4.5 of them, and then they were like, oh, well, we're only paying you for the days you accrued from the time you started back up, and I'm like, well, why did you tell me I had 16 days then? I never would have used those 4.5.
I mean, they probably just don't have the money to pay you out for all of them.
No, that's probably what it is, but fuck them. They're assholes. Anyway.
So, we got some PlayStation-related news. A couple of VR-related things up front. Sony has the website up, so you can go on and request the adapter for the PS4 camera, so that you can use your PSVR on a PlayStation 5.
Okay.
No one really knew how this was going to work for the longest time. We just knew that Sony said an adapter was required, and that they would be free.
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought that maybe they would just be packed in with the boxes, like with the consoles. But last week when we had the unboxing stuff from the outlets that got them, no adapter. So I think it was late last week, like Thursday or Friday.
I think we might have mentioned even when recording that there was like a website, but you couldn't get onto it at that time. You tried to get onto it, but like it just kept like trying and circles kept popping, but you wouldn't be able to do anything in there or something like.
Yeah, so it kept just it kept either recycling the page when you went through the CAPTCHA, or it was asking for the serial number for your PSVR.
Yeah.
So basically to confirm that you owned a PSVR. But it just kept saying, sorry, something went wrong. Contact Sony support.
Yeah.
And I texted your brother because I knew he had one too, and I told him, and he tried it and got the same error. So
yeah.
It was pretty, and I saw a lot of people on Facebook and stuff having the same issue. A few days later, though, I was able to go on and like put in a request for one and got it through. Don't know when I'm going to see it. Haven't seen any other emails since then. This also seems like a wildly just inefficient way to do this, because like there are a lot of PSVR units that were sold, like a lot, and I don't know. Like I feel like people are going to want to be able to use that if they buy the new console.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go now. If you just Google like PSVR camera adapter, like the first link should be the Sony support page to do it. You just need to grab the serial number off of the back of the little converter box. And yeah, it's that easy. You punch in the serial number, you give them your shipping address, and they say thank you. We will send you an adapter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of understand like not packing it in because you might not need it. For instance, I don't have a PSVR. I don't need it. I understand being like, oh, we'll send in the request and we'll send it out to you. But at the same time, it is silly that like the PS5 camera just won't work with the PSVR, and that's just dumb.
Yeah, and it's just so PS4 they packed in that shitty earbud headset thing.
Yeah.
Like that one that was just like the hard plastic. It was uncomfortable in your ear. It was just one ear.
Yeah, I use that thing for my phone headset right now.
Yeah, that thing is probably as expensive as this adapter, if not more expensive.
Yeah, true.
So, because like honestly, all this adapter probably is. So the PSVR, the PS4 camera, it looks kind of like a FireWire port plug. It's not, but it looks like one. Like
yeah,
it's a fatter but slightly less wide like USB. I'm sure it's proprietary, but it's just going to be an adapter that goes from that to USB.
Yeah.
It's probably costing them pennies on the dollar to manufacture. Like I feel like they're, and I could be wrong, but I feel like they're probably spending more in man hours to package these and mail them and postage than they would have been to just fucking put it in the box.
Yeah.
Or like ship a bunch of them to GameStops and Best Buys and let people just come in and like pick them out of a jar.
Yeah, just take 10 of them if you want. Yeah, alright, yeah, sure. You'll probably lose one at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like back when like PCs were really like moving away from the PS2 keyboard and mouse to the USB keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
Where like every keyboard you bought and every mouse you bought came with the little USB to PS2 adapter.
Yeah.
Like I had a box full of those at one point.
Talk about losing dongles. I almost lost the dongle to my headphones, my PlayStation 5 headphones.
Do you need to plug that into the PlayStation 5? Do you know?
I assume so. It's not Bluetooth or anything. It is connected through that dongle, and like I use it for my PS4. I use it for if I'm ever to be on calls on my work computer, I plug it into that as well. Because the headset that they sent for my new job absolutely sucks. So I don't want to use it.
So do you have to send that PC back to the one company and get a new PC from the new company?
I already got the new PC from the new company, and I have to send the other PC to the old company, yes.
Is the PC better than the old one?
Newer, probably, but probably not much better. Does it have
Wi-Fi this time?
It does have Wi-Fi this time, but I'm still hardwired in because I'm right next to the modem, so that doesn't make sense.
But at least, like, if you ever wanted to actually put your workspace in a different place, you can.
Yes, and that's, when they move out, that's probably what I might do, is move my workspace up to the small room upstairs.
You mean if they move
out? When they move out.
Sure. So, in other PSVR news, it's probably going to be dead soon.
Oh no.
So Jim Ryan, the Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO, made some comments along the lines of, like, Sony doesn't see PSVR as a major part of gaming anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, like, in the next several years, they don't expect VR to be important in any real way. So they're not really putting anything behind it anymore. Even though in the first 4 years, well, the first 3 years it was available, those units sold really well. But, like, in this year alone, there just really weren't any VR titles worth talking about.
Yeah.
Especially VR titles available on the PSV.
Yeah. Like, all the good, like, VR titles are, like, PC VR titles. The ones that allow modding and things like that. Like, the number one is Beat Saber. Like, getting Beat Saber on your PSVR is worthless because you can't get the modded songs and things like that. You just have to use its developer-based songs.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not worthless if you don't have the money to buy a different headset.
Yeah, true. But like, if you were gonna go with one or the other, you could have just gone with the headset for. I think any of the other ones could use the mods for Beat Saber. I'm not sure.
But you figure if you don't have a PC or a PS4, the total investment to do PSVR is still significantly cheaper than to do any other headset on PC. Because you need a powerful PC, and the headsets themselves are expensive.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that, I want to say it's like the Oculus Quest is the one that doesn't need a PC, maybe? But it's basically like, it's like when they had those ones that you just put your cell phone into.
Yeah.
Like, it can play some games, but it's not anything special. But like Beat Saber on the PSVR is still Beat Saber. It's still fun.
Yeah.
I think the only VR title that is just unavailable anywhere else right now is Half-Life Alyx, and that probably won't be available on anything but the
Oculus, right?
The Valve. No. Oculus is Facebook. Valve related stuff. So like the Vive and whatever the Index, I think is the other one. I think it's still called the Vive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, which makes sense. Like, that's Valve's headset. Half-Life is Valve's franchise. So, granted, there are ways to get that to play on, like, an Oculus if you do some stuff on your PC. But
yeah,
either way, Sony does not seem to be putting any real backing to VR anymore. And PS5s will not support PSVR, like, for the PS5 games. So, there's not going to be any PS5 PSVR titles. And the sounds of this, so right now, if you put on your PSVR headset, you can play any game with that headset on and have it, like, right there in front of you, kind of like almost like a movie theater, like your own personal little movie.
Yeah.
Which, like, in certain circumstances is actually kind of cool. It's not VR, like, you're still just looking at a screen, but it just makes it look like the screen is, like, huge in front of you.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's not going to work with PS5 games. Like, PS5 games just will not recognize the PSVR headset.
Okay.
So
that's
like,
dumb.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And then we have the custom side plates for the PS5. So they had that breakdown video a few weeks ago where they showed the whole system being opened up and taken apart. And part of that was that we found out that those white side panels slide off.
Yeah.
And you actually have to take those off to put the expendable memory.
Mm-hmm.
So they're meant to be removed. a company called Customize My Plate, which was previously called PlayStation 5, launched after seeing that video, offering like different colors and options for those panels.
Yeah.
So they changed their name over copyright issues, which I get it. Like, that's a little too on the fucking nose.
Yeah.
But they pulled down their website, pulled down their Twitter, put everything back up like a couple days later as Customize My Plates. But they promised that all of the pre-orders would still be fulfilled, like all that stuff was still good. Shortly after that, they cancel all pre-orders and are promising refunds to everybody.
Oh man, come on, Sony.
So in a statement to IGN, Customize My Plates said, the decision stems from conversations with Sony's legal team, and that trademarks for PS5's removable plates are too complex for a small team to navigate without risk of legal infringement. Which,
okay,
I get that. It's not surprising, but it still seems kind of shitty. Like, other companies do these third-party things all the time, like controllers and like cosmetics and stuff for console. It's not that insane. So there's got to be more to this story than just...
Yeah.
The thing that I put down here when I was kind of thinking about this, it might have to do with the cooling of the system. So from what we saw from the breakdown, they put a lot of emphasis on like heat displacement and cooling. Like 90% of that fucking console is a fucking heat sink. 8% of it is a fan, and the other 2% is the actual bits and pieces of the console. So if you have somebody making new panels that doesn't necessarily know all of this because the fucking console is not available yet, there could be like overheating issues really easily, which could then lead to Sony being in a position where they have to argue about their warranty to consumers.
Yeah.
And like that's just a position that like nobody technically wants to be in. Like, consumers don't want their brand new PlayStation to die, and Sony doesn't want to have to try and explain that, like, oh yeah, no, like, you put these on here, this is not under warranty, like, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. It kind of just sucks. Like, I don't know, I get it. I definitely do get it.
Yeah, I am sure by, like, Q2 of next year, there's going to be 6 different, like, vendors making these things legally, and Sony will be selling their own designs for it, too.
Yeah. I mean, that might be what it is Sony wanted to get their own designs out before others.
I mean, probably. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, see, it's kind of a toss-up. This generation, will they go the route of the fully themed console? You know, like the Spider-Man or the God of War or what have you?
Yeah.
Or will they sell editions of those games that just come with new panels?
Probably both. Because, like, with the 360... they had the faceplates at, like, I think I had a Gears of War faceplate, but then I had the R2-D2 360. So, like, probably a combination of both.
Yeah, and, you know, honestly, if a cool set of those came out, and it was like, you know, it was a game I was going to buy, it's a $70 game, and for $90 or $100, you get, like, these different plates to make the console not look like a router.
Yeah.
I'd probably do that. Depending on what those side panels look like or like cost on their own, because like we said, like there's going to be other vendors, including Sony, that just sells those things outright anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the last little bit of Sony really. I don't remember if we talked about this last week or not. But Sony is expecting to have issues with fulfillment of PS5 hardware throughout the end of the year.
I feel like we might have said this kind of in passing, but come to the conclusion that we all kind of saw that happening.
Yeah, so between production and shipping limitations caused by the pandemic, they don't have as many projected units as they expected to by this point.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a pre-order, like a confirmed pre-order, you might not find one of these consoles until sometime next year.
Which is, like, again, to me, it's not a shock.
No, it's definitely not.
Especially with how high of a demand the pre-orders were. Because, like, didn't you say, like, in the first 12 hours, they outsold their pre-orders in, like, the first 12 days of the PS4? Or something
it was something like that, yeah. I forget if it was days or weeks. It might have been weeks. It might have been 12 hours. In 12 hours, they had more PS5 pre-orders than they had in 12 weeks of pre-orders for the PS4.
Yeah. So, like, yeah.
To be fair, like, the PS4 and the PS5... I'm sorry, the PS3 and the PS4, like, Sony was a little bit of the underdog in that, and nobody really knew what to expect, so they weren't pushing for that console really hard. it was honestly, it was this generation that Sony's first party catalog, I feel, became this kind of juggernaut that it is now. Because like PS3 era, you had like your Uncharted, your Last of Us, but like otherwise, like you had the same old God of Wars. You had like whatever Gran Turismo game came out that generation. There aren't a ton of PlayStation exclusives from the PS3 that jump to, but now they're the company where it's like, oh, PlayStation has all the studios that make all the games.
Yeah.
Like, I want to play Spider-Man and God of War and whatever Naughty Dog does next and whatever Sucker Punch and Insomniac do.
Maybe Uncharted from Naughty Dog?
I don't think so. So the theory is Sony San Diego, which is the MLB The Show studio, if I remember correctly. I believe it was San Diego. They started up a new team, and the theory there is that they may be working on an Uncharted spinoff.
Okay. Maybe it stars his daughter.
It's possible, like, other first-party studios have worked on those games before. The two PSP or PS Vita Uncharteds were done by Sony Bend.
Yeah. Like,
Bend did those games and then did Days Gone.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, Sony San Diego makes the same, well, not the same, but they make MLB The Show every year. So, like, they've been making the same game for, like, a decade. So for them to be able to spin out a new team and try something different, like, I'm sure that's exciting for those guys.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like, I just feel like this generation is more of a people... Gaming is bigger now than it was 7 years ago. More people want these things because they're also still the cheaper way to get, like, 4K Blu-ray players and stuff.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, like, exclusives and stuff like that. Like, people want those exclusive games, and they want them, even though there aren't any exclusive games right now.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, who knows? I'm actually off on that Thursday. I'm off like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that week because I had to burn PTO.
It must be nice.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I only 5 days carry over, so I had to burn some PTO so that I don't lose it in the new year.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I took those days off, and then I took off the 23rd and 24th of December and the 30th and 31st of December. Okay. So I get, like, because Christmas and New Year's both fall on Fridays.
Yeah.
So I get, like, nice long weekends, basically.
Yeah. Well, Christmas... Oh, yeah, no, never mind. It's next year that Christmas is Saturday, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's Friday this year. But yeah, so I'm probably going to go out Thursday morning because I have nothing else to do and, like, check, like, Target and Walmart, like the big box stores, basically.
Yeah, you never know. They could have just hidden some pre-orders.
Yeah, I mean, I remember walking into these stores before and, like, seeing just Switches on the shelf when they were hard to find. Or, like, going back further, like, the Wii, like... kind of near the end of, like, the Wii being hard to find, because that was definitely a self-inflicted shortage.
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo was just holding back shipments, guaranteed fucking.
Probably.
But yeah, so the one thing that has been said a few times by different retailers is that they're going to have an inventory for these consoles for Black Friday. But some of them are, like Best Buy, I believe has confirmed that they're only doing online sales.
Yeah.
Which means it's going to be a shit show, and bots are going to buy all of them before people.
Oh yeah, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be worse than the first pre-order night.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like, this stuff doesn't work anymore because we live in a shitty fucking society. But, like, back when I worked at, like, Circuit City, which is going back, like, 08, 09, if you went to, like, one of these stores to buy, like their big ticket items on Black Friday, you waited outside. Before the store opened, a manager came out with, like, basically, like, a big book of tickets. And they would have the number of tickets for each item that they had.
Yeah.
So, like, if they had 20 of, like, the hot TV, they would have 20 of these tickets. And they'd basically go down the line and ask people what they were there for and hand them a voucher for those items.
Yeah.
And when they ran out of vouchers, those items were gone. If people still wanted to wait in line, they were welcome to, but they weren't getting those items.
Yeah.
Like, fucking do that. Like, yeah, it sucks people might show up at, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday to wait outside. But that's the fucking psycho's problem. But, give them a ticket on Friday morning at 3 a.m. or whenever you're opening, and they can come in and they can pick up one of the Xboxes or the PS5s or what have you and leave.
Yeah. I tell you, I miss legit Black Friday. Because now that Black Friday starts at 3 o'clock on Thursday, I'm just like, I'm like, no, fuck this. I'm not doing it. Like, I miss actually going in line and wanting to get good stuff on Black Friday.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, yeah, Black Friday is just, it's weird and different. And apparently, a lot of places are not opening.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
That's the right move.
Yeah, actually, a lot of places aren't opening on Thursday. I'm surprised. Because places would open at 3, 4 o'clock on a Thursday, force their teenage employees to miss their family dinner to have to work for minimum wage.
So, I realize, every single person has, a different experience with this. I never worked anywhere where you were forced to work. It was always... So, most employers, because they get it, they try not to make people work extended shifts unless they volunteer for it. And they always do, volunteer first. So it's oh, you want to work, and it was always by seniority. So, if I'd been someplace for 3 years and somebody else had been there for 5 years and they requested the morning shift, odds are they were getting the morning shift.
Yeah. Well, when Eric worked at ShopRite, he would volunteer to work because they would only be open till about 3 o'clock. So he would volunteer to work, and Mom would be like, well, my mom would kind of push him to do it because, he doesn't have to cook dinner or anything, and he lives at home, whereas one of these adults who actually have to travel or cook or whatever should have the day off, so he would always volunteer on Thursdays, on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing. So, when I worked at CVS or even at Petco, and Circuit City at this point was closed on Thursday, on Thanksgiving, because this was long enough ago that, the world wasn't awful. But, CVS was open every day of the year for at least some hours. And I worked at one that was not 24 hours. So that was never a thing for us. But, my store for the month of December would stay open till midnight, whereas we normally closed at 10.
Yeah.
So, I would usually volunteer to work till midnight because you would come in later, you'd work a little bit later, but it would be slower for those last, 2 hours. So you'd actually have more time to just kind of, goof around.
Yeah.
But I would volunteer to work Thanksgiving Day, and other people would volunteer to work the afternoons, and a lot of times they would get split into 3 or 4 hour shifts if no one wanted to work dinner time. It'd be all right, well, such and such is going to work 12 to 3, and then somebody else is going to work 12 to 6, and then somebody else is going to work 6 to 9.
Yeah.
This way, it sucks. You might have to move some stuff around, but you're not going to be stuck there all day.
Yeah. When I worked at McDonald's, it would they decided one year to open up on Thanksgiving, and when they told me that, I looked at my store manager and I was like, I'm not working on Thanksgiving. She's like, well, if you're on a schedule, I'm like, no, I'm not working on Thanksgiving. I will be sick. I don't care. The store will not open. I am not working on Thanksgiving. And then she scheduled somebody else to work on Thanksgiving because I flat out refused to work.
Were you a manager at that time?
I was a manager at the time. And McDonald's should not be open on Thanksgiving. It was not open on Thanksgiving for 7 of the 8 years I worked there. Then the last year I worked there, it was open on Thanksgiving, and I refused to work there. That same year, they decided that they will be open till midnight on New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve to New Year's Day, they would be open till midnight. Which I was like, I'm not working till midnight. I will close the store at 10 o'clock. Because the holiday is midnight. The holiday isn't New Year's Day. So then she didn't put me on a schedule then either, because she knew I would go against that.
Man, no wonder fucking everyone hates you. You're the worst employee ever.
No, I'm actually the most reasonable employee ever. McDonald's shouldn't be open till midnight on Thanksgiving. Or on New Year's.
It really, yeah. I don't know, New Year's, drunk people need a fucking Big Mac, don't they?
No, they don't.
I mean, how else are they going to sober up?
And if they do, there's the, we weren't a 24-hour store. We were a 6 in the morning to midnight store. There's a 24-hour store in Mount Ephraim they could have gone to because that was open. And it was always open.
Was the Westmont one midnight?
The one I worked at, the Westmont one, was midnight.
Was it always midnight?
It was always midnight.
Huh.
The lobby closed at 11. But the drive-thru closed at midnight.
So when we were all still friends with Brandon, I remember wherever we were at, he would always show up with bags full of leftover food.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was not that late. But I guess, but you know what? Honestly, it very well could have been because I probably worked till 10 and then went to wherever we were going, and then he showed up 2 hours later with food.
Yeah, it was probably my house or I don't know, Anthony's maybe.
At this time, we were hanging out with Pittman a lot. Probably his place.
It was probably Pittman's place. It was most definitely Pittman's place. But yeah, we were open till midnight, so it wouldn't surprise me that Brandon would have them cook stuff right before they close, put it off to the side, and then like run the whole closing, be done by 1 o'clock, and get to you guys by a little after 1.
Honestly, I think he was actually getting there even sooner than that.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me once that he actually made most of the food himself before they closed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on like what he made. Like, would he just bring nuggets and fries?
No, he'd bring like McChickens and like cheeseburgers.
Okay.
But like, because I when he was a manager there, I knew a bunch of other people that worked there.
Yeah.
And he was friends with them. So like, the impression I got was he was actually pretty cool to everybody and didn't like be like, hey, I want a bunch of food to bring with me. Somebody go make me 12 burgers. It was like, we have a bunch of leftover food that's going to get thrown out. I'm going to make all these burgers real quick before we close up.
Yeah, I mean, that when I was manager, that's what I would do. Like, and that's what we were told to do. Like, if they want to take the food home, they can, as long as you count it properly, but only if you do not, only if, you can determine that it wasn't done on purpose. So, if there was a full tray of nuggets, which was like 80 nuggets, just cooked within the past 10 minutes, they did that on purpose. Don't let them take that home. And I wouldn't. I would take it home myself. I would be like, you guys literally made a full tray of nuggets 10 minutes ago. You're not taking the nuggets home. Give me them. And I would take them and like, quote, throw them away. And I would put them in a bag and hide them in the office. I'd be like, you can take whatever else, but I know these nuggets were made just so you can take them home. No. Because that is wasteful. Like, that is not wasteful, but it's losing the company money, so it is technically theft.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah.
So how is my time in Portia at Portia? My time at Portia.
My time at Portia, it is, I've only played it for also like an hour and a half or so. It is a lot different than what I had expected. It is very similar to like the Harvest Moons, and Stardew Valley type games, but it's 3D, so it's not like Stardew Valley in that, in graphically at least, and it's weird. It's interesting. There is like a dungeon delving aspect. There is mining that you can go and do. The crafting is there's crafting where it wasn't quite as much. Was there crafting in Stardew?
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, but not like. It wasn't as intricate as it is in my time at Portia. In Stardew, it was just like, you need these items and you can just craft it. Whereas at my time at Portia, you need to, like, go to a book, figure out all the items you need in the book. It's not just readily available to you. Then, like, say you need all this material, all this metal. You go to your forge and you start forging all the metal, and it gives you, like, it'll take a day and a half. But it's a day and a half game time, not a day and a half lifetime. And like the book that goes through like the things you can make, like you can make a car. I'm supposed to be making a bridge right now. It's like it's a lot more intricate because like you need like copper ore to make copper bars, and you need those copper bars to make copper stilts, and you need the copper stilts with the wood to make the part of the bridge. And it's like it tells you step by step, and to do all of that, you need to have the materials, select the thing you want to make, and then go to your setup station and actually place the materials down, and it'll make the thing for it. It's weird. It's interesting. I haven't really delved too far into the whole relationship aspect. I think there is something like that in that game, but I'm still like kind of trying to figure out like the controls and everything, because it's different, but it is similar to Stardew, where there is a day-night cycle. I don't know if there's a limit to how late you can stay up, but you do have stamina based on your actions. You can go fishing, you can go farming, but I haven't learned how to farm yet. You can buy more land to increase your plot, knock down wood, go mining, go fight creatures in one of the other mines. It's neat, it's cool. I'm sure when I get further into it, I might like it more, but right now I'm kind of like, it's okay. But I think, like, I think the only reason I'm not really super liking it is because I'm new to it, and this is a game that you really have to learn everything about before you actually start having full fun, I guess.
Which is very much those sorts of games.
Yeah, like your first playthrough of Stardew, you're gonna screw up big time. But after you play for a year game time or for a month and a half game time, you understand it and you start doing it better and you start having more fun. But it's that initial introductory period where you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Am I doing it all right? I don't know. So it's like, I'm in that part right now, like trying to figure it out. But it's good. It's a game I've really looked forward to getting and was super interested in getting. And the only reason I bought it was because it was, what'd I say, like $7?
It was something pretty cheap. Like, it was one of those kind of no-brainers.
Yeah. It was like $7 on the Switch store that I got for free because I had enough points I had enough points before the $7 to get it for free.
Which is always awesome.
Yeah. That's what I bought 3 games this week, and 2 of them were free. One of them was a penny that I got for free. And then the other, and Portia that I got for free. And then one other that I already owned, but it was like under $3 after I used the points that I got from buying my time at Portia. It went under $3. So I was like, yeah, $2.50? Sure, I'll buy this game as well.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of free, though, there is a demo available on your PS4 and your Xbox Ones for Dragon Age 11S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition.
Okay, nice.
It's a 10-hour-ish demo, so it's a beefy demo.
That's a lengthy boy right there.
Yeah. Pretty sure it's the same thing that they did on the Switch last year.
Yeah.
So the demo is like the opening chapters of the game. It will carry over, so your save data will carry over to the full game if you purchase it.
Yeah.
Which is great, because who wants to fucking play a grindy RPG like that to have to do it twice? Square Enix is also saying that there is a treat for players complete the demo, but they're not saying what it is.
Okay.
The full game, though, gets released on December 7th on Xbox and PS4. The original version of the game was released in 2017 in Japan.
Yeah.
And then 2018 everywhere else. And then this definitive edition actually launched last September, so it's September 2019 on the Switch. And I'm pretty sure this is the same demo was released in August, that August. So, similar setup to what they did for the Switch version.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't know, and I didn't really see specified in it, the Switch version of it had this retro mode where you could play the game in like a 16-bit style with different music and everything like that. I don't know if if the other console versions have that, or if it was just the Switch version.
Yeah. I think it's all of them. But I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I would assume. I kind of want to try this. I might download this demo. Not sure, honestly, because 10 hours is a lot, and I've only ever tried one other Dragon Quest game, and I liked it, but it was a little too much.
They can be very tedious. Dragon Quest 8, I know, had set characters, but then Dragon Quest 9, you kind of had to make characters throughout the game. I don't think I ever played 10. And Eric really enjoyed 11 when he played it on the Switch, but it ended 6 times.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Every time he got done an ending, it was like, oh, but first, go do this. And then it's the end. And then he would do that, and well, now you have to do this. And the final portion of it, but he's also a completionist, more so than I am, and needed to get all this specific stuff, so was playing specifically to get these things, to go fight this final boss, and getting his characters to the highest levels with the best equipment and everything. He probably ended up sinking a couple of 100 hours into the game, or 100+ hours into the game, and a lot of it was idle play. He'd be sitting there talking at the dinner table, just holding the attack, holding A, and then going into a battle, and then tapping A to attack, and then going into a battle and tapping A. He's nuts when it comes to those games, but the ending can be very tedious. Understand?
Yeah, I don't know that much about it. But I just double checked my inventory app. I played a chunk of Dragon Quest VII on 3DS.
Okay.
Which was originally a PlayStation 1 game that was Dragon Warrior 7 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It was fun, but those games also, they sort of I don't know, like they just kind of tell you to go and basically grind. Like I want a JRPG with a little bit more narrative if I'm playing them, and like those, at least 7 didn't seem to have a lot of narrative.
Yeah, and I feel like it was kind of like that with Dragon Quest IX. Like there wasn't a lot of narrative. It was just get to this point. All right, now go to that point, but no real reason. Dragon Quest 8 though had some good narrative.
Yeah, I think 8 is like the one that everyone's a fan of, and that one was like on PS2 if I remember correctly.
It was 360 era, I think.
No, I think Dragon Quest 8 was PS2.
I don't know.
Hang on. Yep, PlayStation 2.
Oh, wow.
PlayStation 2, iOS, and 3DS. Oh, well, it just came out on 3DS in 2017.
Okay. I mean, Eric liked that one enough to where, one Otakon, him and Audra cosplayed as 2 characters from it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that one was good, but I wasn't really a big fan of 9 or anything. I haven't played anything since then, but 11 seems cool.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I am interested.
Yeah.
At the very least, interested.
But, I mean, try it out. Try the demo on the PlayStation, and if you like it enough, just get it for the Switch.
I mean, I could probably just try the demo on the Switch.
If the demo's still live on the Switch, yeah, definitely just... Like, I feel like it'd just be more worth it to get it on the Switch, especially because of the way you play games. You wouldn't mind a game like that handheld because it's an RPG. It's not an action game. And, like, you can watch TV or do work while playing your Switch, which is stuff you like to do. So
yeah, and honestly, I would not want to play a 10-hour demo on the PlayStation and then jump over the Switch with it.
Yeah. Like... sorry, PlayStation and Xbox, but if you're thinking of getting this game and you have a Switch, just get it for the Switch. This is definitely one of the instances where you should just get it for the Switch. Druten, just get it for the Switch.
No, he's not going to buy Switch games.
No.
So how do you like Bastion?
Bastion is good. Bastion is a Supergiant game. Make Hades and Transistor and other games of that nature.
Pyre.
And it is, I believe it's I think it's their first game that they made. I can't fully remember.
I'm pretty sure it is.
But it's a game that has always been on my radar. I actually own it on the PC, but at the time I bought it, I didn't have a controller for the PC, and it controls a lot better with a controller than a mouse and keyboard. It is, an isometric, I wouldn't even call it a brawler, but it's you just have, like, it's your character, you have 2 different weapons, some magical abilities based on the weapons you're holding and the magic you choose, and you run around, kill things, and, like, one of the big allure of the game is, like, the map builds as you run through it. So, like, as you're running forward, parts are coming up to make the path that you have to run towards.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And some creatures will, like, break the ground behind them, or, like, where they attack, they'll break the ground underneath you. And, there's a narrator. And as you, like, say you're sitting there just breaking boxes, the narrator will straight up say, and the kid just sat there and raged out for a while. And, like, the things you do, the game just narrates. The kid does this. The kid was feeling, like, and that's, like, one of the cool things that I really was super interested about with this game. I'm not really sure if it's a roguelike. I only played through the intro section to get to what they call the Bastion, which is, like, where you choose the next area to go to.
Okay.
So, and, like, that was also, again, like, probably about an hour that I played through it. But it is a game that I've played before, and, like, I definitely did enjoy it. And again, it was on sale on Switch for, like, $3. So
yeah, at that point, why not?
There's no reason not to get this game. Even though I already own it, I know I'm going to play it on the Switch. And I bought it in preparation of, well, I'm going to be watching Election Day coverage for the next week. I have a ton of stuff on the Switch to play now. And I don't really have anything to play until next week. Because I'm, like, caught up on all my weeklies, except for The Division, but I play that, like, maybe once a week. But it's good. It's a fun game. If you like Supergiant, you'll probably like this.
It's cool that every one of their games is different.
Yeah, like, they don't always go, like, Hades, I believe, is their first roguelike. I don't think they had any other roguelikes.
Yeah, no, so, like, Bastion was like a platformer, I guess, right? Is that how you...
I wouldn't call it, there's no jumping around. I wouldn't quite call it a platform.
So Wikipedia calls it an action role-playing game.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Transistor is also an action role-playing game, but like, I don't know, it's very different.
Yeah, I think that's more...
It's like futuristic.
It's a futuristic action role-player, but also, I think, kind of... No, it's also isometric. So, like, they tend to go with that isometric style. Because Hades was also isometric. I guess I never played Transistor. I thought I did.
It was a free PS Plus game a while back.
I'm 95% sure I have it on PS Plus, but I was mistaking it for a different game that I had played on there. But, like, yeah, like, all their games tend to be different, and not just, like, the same style or the same look. Like, Transistor, like, it looks like the worlds are all pre-made, or, like, it did none of this, like, building as you run type of thing that they did with Bastian. I'm not sure if they do narration, but once I beat Bastian, since I probably have Transistor, I'll play that next.
Yeah, like, I didn't play a ton of Transistor, but I played a bit of it, and it was super fun. And so, like, honestly, so was Pyre. Pyre was super weird, though. So it was like this weird, like, post-apocalyptic fantasy world, and the combat were these, like, basketball games. Like, it was like battle basketball.
Yeah.
Like, it was neat, though. Like, Pyre is actually super cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did you see the Spider-Verse suit for Miles Morales?
No, I did not.
So, Insomniac unveiled it. It is that, like, cel-shaded look that the Spider-Verse movie had.
Okay.
So, like, it stands out really cool against the PlayStation world.
They had, I think it was like the Spider-Man Classic costume or something like that in the original Spider-Man game.
Yeah, there was a cartoon
was, like,
one that
cartoony style, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's just the way, like, that the video clip on, like, Twitter looked. But it looks like he is purposely, like, off frame from everything, the way Miles was animated in Spider-Verse 2. So, like, Miles is animated at a lower frame rate than everybody else.
Okay.
So that he looks more out of step with his powers than, like, Pete or Gwen or Spider-Pig do.
Okay.
And, like, as the movie progresses and he gets more accustomed to him, his frame rate increases. But he looks just a little bit framey compared to, like, the world you're swinging around.
Yeah.
And, like, it was super cool.
That's awesome.
And if that's the suit they're just unveiling, I'm really curious to know what other suits are going to be available in this game.
Oh, yeah. There's probably going to be so many good ones.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So that was a quick one. The next one, Critical Role, is launching their own publishing company, like board game publishing company, tabletop publishing company, called Darrington Press. So,
you don't pay attention to Critical Role as much as I do. I've watched everything and have actually started rewatching the original series. Taryon Darrington was Sam Riegel's second character in the first season, in the first series, I guess, or the first campaign, and he was a writer, so that's where the name comes from, at least. It is, they partnered with Ivan Van Norman, who, he's big in the tabletop community in general. He also did, remember I talked about, that, zombie, RPG show a few months ago or a year ago that was based off of a podcast I used to listen to?
I vaguely remember what you're talking about.
He did that. It was called, like, We're Alive, New Frontier or something like that. He also, was part of the, Undeadwood that Critical Role did, mid to late last year as well. But they're partnering with him. He's heading that up. Matt Mercer is also, like,
he's creative advisor.
Yeah, CCO.
Creative advisor, not chief creative officer. He is the CCO of Critical Role.
Oh, he's CCO. Yeah. And so they partner together. Their first game coming out the first quarter next year is called Ukatoa, which, again, you don't pay attention to Critical Role. Ukatoa is a demon that was Travis Willingham's warlock's patron before he became a paladin. And it seems interesting. It's like a card-based game. I'm not really too sure about it. I'm sure they'll have some, like, Let's Plays on their channel when they start releasing these games to show you actually how they work. But they actually have 3 more games planned out. One of them called Critical Role Adventures, which is like a legacy game, kind of like Pandemic Legacy, and I can't think of other legacy games, but anything that has a legacy title where like your progress from session to session carries on. The other 2 I don't really know too much about, Syndicate and Guardians of Martymonia, but they're each coming out each quarter respectively of next year.
Okay.
Yeah. They announced this last week, but I had seen it like just before we started recording, and I meant to add it while we were on, but I completely forgot.
Which happens.
Yeah, and then they announced it officially during last week's episode, so like that made me, because I watched them on the Monday after they air, so it reminded me to share it with you guys. But yeah, I love everything Critical Role does, because I don't think we covered that they started their own charity as well.
I think you brought it up.
But like, they've been doing a lot of good, and so I'm like excited to see what they do with this and how they jump into the like the board game and tabletop game community with these games. Hopefully they're good. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. They seem to care about quality, so I feel like they're not going to put out bad stuff.
Yeah.
I'll be interested if things ever normalize, if we get a PAX Unplugged next year, if they'll have if as a company they'll have a booth set up there with their games. I
wouldn't be surprised, because they've during their shows they've brought up PAX Unplugged. They've been to PAX Unplugged several, at least. Well, there's only. I think they only went.
Then there were 3, weren't there?
Were there? I can't remember. I think they went at least twice. If there were 3, or
I think they were only at the first one.
But like they were there, and they go to a lot of the they go to C2E2, and what is that C2E2 that's in Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago. What is it?
Yeah.
Chicago Comics and Entertainment Expo.
Yeah, and that's usually when they do their live shows, is at C2E2. They've been to New York Comic Con, and that's when they do a live show as well, generally. So maybe if they can get into a bigger setting for this and have a reason to bring everyone out, they could do live shows in Philly too, because we also have our game company, plus Critical Role is huge in the gaming community, in the board gaming community, and the tabletop community, and PAX Unplugged is huge for the tabletop community, so it just would make sense.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong.
Yeah. So potentially that would be cool. I'd be excited to go and check that out. But at best, we'd have to wait till next year. I know, because PAX Unplugged is still doing virtual things, right?
Nope. No. How are you going to do a virtual thing for a tabletop convention?
Yeah, sure. I thought they were going to try to, at least, but.
No, they confirmed that it was canceled, and because of the nature of the show, they're just going to wait till next year.
Yeah, which is fine. No problem at all.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but better safe than sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, Critical Role's got a bunch of stuff going on. They released a book and everything else as well, and they're just all around good people, and nerds got to stop hating on them. It pisses. I know I go off on this rant from time to time about nerds hating on Critical Role, but they took 2 weeks off a couple of weeks ago, and people flipped out on them. And I'm like, guys, you do realize that this is their job, and then they have family lives and other jobs they have to do. Plus, they're running a charity and shit. Because they need 2 weeks off from playing this game that you can't understand, is supposed to be fun for them, and not their actual job, doesn't give you right to flip out on them and say that they're, quote, taking too much time off in the middle of a fucking global pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, people on the internet are just stupid anyway. But yeah, all of them are, they all have different jobs beyond that. They're all involved with Critical Role as a company in different ways.
Travis Willingham, somehow, is the CEO of Critical Role. I don't know how Travis Willingham is the CEO of Critical Role, but he is. But they all run Critical Role and that organization, plus Travis, Laura, Matt, they're all, known and still taking jobs voice actors.
Yeah, I mean, Laura Bailey's in everything, so is, Ashley Johnson is in both, physical roles and voice acting roles.
I believe the entire cast of Critical Role had some form of, quote, walk-on part in Last of Us 2, because of Laura and Ashley. Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me. And, like, they're friends with Neil, so...
Yeah. And, like,
And also the other people in that game, like Troy Baker and shit, so...
Yeah. And, like, Sam, he's a voice director, so is Liam, as well as voice actors of themselves. Like, plus, like, Sam's wife is a known videographer. Like, a well-known, like, videographer, so she's always doing, like, entertainment work as well, that, like, sometimes they can't have a show properly, and they don't want to give shitty content.
Yeah, because you figure, like, they're doing these shows, like, they usually run about 4 hours, right? Like the live stream runs about 4 hours.
Well, to correct that real quick, they're not currently doing live shows.
Oh, are they still doing pre-recorded?
They're still doing pre-recordeds. But yes, somewhere along the lines of 3.5 to 4.5. I think there was one that was close to 5 hours recently.
Because I know, like, the episodes themselves, like, when they're released on, like, podcast or, like, YouTube or whatever, they're closer to, like, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, generally.
Like, the median's, like, 3.5, but, like, their breaks are cut out of it and stuff like that. Like, they have, like, the little ad breaks in there, but it's not the full break that they would have taken during recording.
Yeah.
So you figure, like, if they're doing 4.5 hour recording sessions, they're doing this in the evening, because you figure, I think it starts at, like, 10 o'clock our time, which means it's 7 o'clock their time.
Yes.
So they're not starting this shit till 7 o'clock at night. They're going till 11 to 12 o'clock their time. And then they're also working other jobs. And, like, Laura and Travis have, what, like a 2-year-old?
Laura and Travis have a 2-year-old. Yeah, I think Ronan's 2. Liam and Sam both have 2 children of themselves.
Wait, they have children of themselves?
Well,
that's fucking weird.
They both have children themselves. So just 3 weeks ago, the episode was 4 hours and 20 minutes long.
And that's like the actual release, like edited episode, right?
That's the YouTube episode was 4 hours and 20 minutes long. So take out about 20 minutes of that for their ad break in the middle, and not even ad break, but just their own personal peace of mind break. Because Cobb, you've only played D&D once for about 2.5 hours. It is exhausting to play that long straight, so you need a break in the middle.
Yeah, I would never even play for another 2 hours.
Yeah, like, so take about 20 minutes, a half hour off of that. That episode ran 4 hours. Like, it is premium good, like, content, or, what's the word that I'm trying to come up with?
I mean, content seemed like the right word.
Improv content is, yeah. Content was what I was.
Oh no, man! I hear that whole thing is scripted.
No. It is a running joke. There was one episode that was 4 hours and 42 minutes long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the time for that, but like what I have watched of their stuff, like it is actually super entertaining.
Yeah, like they're really good at being entertaining, but also playing the game and knowing, like, as players and as entertainers, what to push forward as quickly as possible, what to do as quickly as possible to entertain, but also, like, as players, like, they want to embellish in some of these things. Like, the past episode, they had a snowball fight, but they knew, like, it wasn't going to be too serious, so that it was just, like, a quick in-passing for 5 minutes, like, I'm going to build a snowman, I'm going to throw a snowball at so-and-so, I'm going to throw, and, like, a quick back and forth, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then they got into the serious stuff, but they had a good time. Plus, they just had their Halloween episode, and it was hilarious, their costumes. One of the characters has the ability to talk to plants, and so she did, and she spoke to a tuft of crabgrass. And Ashley Johnson dressed up as the tuft of crabgrass, who, if you want to pet the crabgrass, you have to ask for consent for it.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the crabgrass, but it's like, she had a sign that said, always ask for consent. So nice. It is, and the voice that was used for the crabgrass was great. So yeah, like, they're good people. That's why I try to support them as much as I can. I bought face masks from them that should be coming in soon.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Mandalorian is back.
Yes.
It had a real good season 2 premiere.
So I'm gonna let you know. I scrolled down and uncovered what your spoiler is. And I saw that spoiler with a out of context spoiler posted earlier this week.
All right. Well, I'm going to spoil a little bit of season 2, episode 1, which is chapter 9, The Mandalorian. He goes back to Tatooine,
Okay.
which is cool. R5 from A New Hope, the droid that Uncle Owen originally buys that has a like a motor burnout on it,
Yeah.
is in it. The lady that has the droids that like do the ship repair that were, well, you didn't watch it, so you wouldn't. It's a character from the first season. She's in it again now. She runs like a little like ship dock / like repair shop sort of thing. She has him, and it is most likely supposed to be the same droid because he actually has like burn marks on his back where that motivator thing blew.
Yeah.
And you figure this series takes place like 12-ish years after A New Hope.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if Mandalorian is 5 or 8 years after Jedi. But then it's 4 years between A New Hope and Jedi.
Yeah.
So, but Timothy Olyphant is in this, and anything with him is good. Like, I mean, I should say he is good in anything because like Die Hard 4, not a great movie. He's real good in it.
Mandalorian is 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Mando is looking for the other Mandalorians. He's trying to find them so that he can use their kind of like network basically to find out where Baby Yoda belongs.
Yeah.
And he hears word that there's a Mandalorian on Tatooine. So he heads to Tatooine and he finds this like little rundown settlement that like no one's ever heard of. And in walks a motherfucker wearing Mandalorian armor that looks a whole lot like Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah.
But it's just fucking Timothy Olyphant.
Okay.
The first thing he does is takes off the helmet, which they specify in the previous season a Mandalorian will never do.
A Mandalorian doesn't take their helmet off in front of somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you know right away that that's not him. Like even before you realize who the actor is. The one thing to keep in mind is Boba Fett is not Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I mean, technically Mando isn't either. Like he's not like a native Mandalorian. He's basically adopted by them.
Yeah.
But Jango Fett was an outcast, and took his helmet off all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And Boba Fett is his clone, so also not really a Mandalorian. Probably would be killed by the Mandalorians if they found him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole episode is basically them trying to take down a crate dragon.
Okay.
Which is like a giant sandworm. But it like they have to work with like the Tusken Raiders, which is kind of cool. Like Mando speaks their language for some fucking reason.
Oh man! So do you get to hear Mando go like or something like that?
Yeah, no, he makes like the weird grunting, guttural noises that sand people make.
That's amazing.
And Timothy Olyphant's just awesome throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, he's an awesome actor in general.
Yeah. But so the thing I actually I'm gonna kind of spoil. So Mando now has Boba Fett's armor.
Okay.
Like Timothy Olyphant's character's that is not his armor. He has no right to it. As a Mandalorian, though, Mando does.
Okay.
Which Mando's not his real name. I forget what his real name is. That's just what everyone calls him on the show.
Yeah.
Because like Beskar armor is incredibly rare and valuable. Like the metal is super hard to find, and very few people know how to actually make the armor.
Yeah, because you have to like melt down the credits you get from doing bounties or something like that to actually make it.
So it's not just bounties. It was in the first episode. The bounty that he does that is where he finds the Baby Yoda is like that is the payment is that stuff. And he takes it and they start making his armor out of it.
Yeah.
But it's not usually your bounties are just credits. But yeah, so like their basically their like agreement in the episode is Mando will help take out the Krayt Dragon if and like when he does, he gets the armor.
Yeah.
But at the very end of the episode, there's a hairless figure on a cliff watching him leave that is fucking definitely the actor that played Boba Fett, or that played Jango Fett in episode 2.
Oh, nice.
Who would definitely be what Boba Fett would look like as an adult.
Yeah.
And you figure, like, timeline-wise, Boba Fett would be in his mid to early 40s. So, like, it works. He's also obviously scarred, like, all of his hair's gone, eyebrows and everything, which, like, could reasonably happen if you're stuck in a fucking Sarlacc pit for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the one thing, I read an article about this after I watched it. The one thing that was pointed out is, like, it's probably Boba Fett. Like, there's not a whole lot of reason why there would be another clone on Tatooine that looks like that.
Yeah.
But it's entirely possible that it could be one of the clones, like one of the other clones, because not all of them were aged the same way.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess what was the most recent cartoon? Rebels?
I think so.
Yeah, Rebels. So, apparently at the end of Rebels is actually the Battle of Endor. Like, that's how Rebels ends, with the Battle of Endor.
Okay.
And one of the clone troopers who actually, like, sided with the Jedi after Order 66 is, like, an old-ass fucking decrepit old man, like, fighting in the Battle of Endor.
Okay, yeah.
Because he was one of the clones that were basically, like, set to age rapidly, but also, like, were expendable.
I thought the rapid aging was only to a certain point, and then they returned them to normal aging.
No, they never actually... So, the rapid aging was still... Like, it's not like they aged in a matter of days or anything like that. Like, it was still years for them to fully mature.
Yeah.
But it wasn't 20 years to be like, a 20-year-old. It was, like, 5 years.
Yeah.
Or 10 years or whatever. Because I forget how long it had been between when the Jedi originally went to Kamino versus, like, when Obi-Wan showed up and everything.
Yeah.
I guess it was at least 10 years, because I think Boba was about 10 years old in that movie.
Sounds about right.
So yeah, like, that particular guy was still alive, but there were some that didn't age that way, that, like, it could be them. No one knows. And, like,
yeah.
So one of the producers on Mandalorian is Dave Filoni. I think that's how you say his last name anyway. He was the guy behind Rebels and Clone Wars.
Okay.
So, like, that's the reason that Ahsoka is going to be in it. Like, the guy that created a lot of these characters is involved in it, so he's bringing his animated characters to live action.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was a good episode, though. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm looking forward to more. I'm curious if it's going to be that episodic thing again. Like, where it's like every episode is kind of its own thing, other than, like, a couple that are directly...
Yeah, like, they only, like, combine if they're to be continued type of things. Otherwise, like, they're all a continual story, but they're all, like, a time frame apart from each other.
Yeah, like, of the 8 episodes of season 1, I think, like, 5 of them were standalone and 3 of them were a little more tied together.
Yeah.
Maybe. But, like, they were all... There was obviously an overarching story to the whole thing. Yeah. And characters that popped up here and there, like, I forget her name in real life and in the show. She used to be, like, the women's MMA fighter, and now she's an actress. She was in Fast and Furious 6. She was The Rock's partner that turned on them. Yeah,
we talked about her. I think we talked about her last week.
But, like,
I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember her name.
She was in the first season multiple times, like, with, like, gaps between episodes. So, like, you know.
Yeah.
This stuff happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should get around to watching that show. It's good.
I will. I forgot this was something else I could have talked about this week. I had just finished season 3 of Supernatural, and I'm more than halfway through season 4 of Supernatural. So once I'm done season 4, I'll probably jump to Mandalorian and watch those 2 seasons before I go back to Supernatural season 5.
Yeah, I mean, luckily they're short seasons, and I believe the average episode is only 30 minutes. I want to say it's the season opener and season ending are 40-45.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have been at a friend's house for about 7 hours watching The Mandalorian when I did. I think we got like 5 to 7 episodes in, and like at one point it wasn't that I wasn't interested. We were sitting there talking, hanging out, and so I wasn't fully paying attention. So I just need to rewatch them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we have our little weekly kaiju.
Yeah.
You watched Mothra versus Godzilla.
Yeah. Before that, I'm going to double back. Season 3 of Supernatural was probably the best so far. And the crazy thing is, it was the writer's strike season. So it was the shortest, took me the longest to get through, and had some of the best writing in it.
Were you just, like, preoccupied with other things? Is that why it took you longer to get through?
I wasn't really into watching it for a bit. And just wasn't really into, like, watching something serious. But, like, when I got into it, like, I watched it within 2 days, because only 13 or 14 episodes.
Okay, wow.
As opposed to, like, 24. And it was so good. I'm trying to remember, there was one episode that, in particular, that, like, had me rolling. I I can't remember. I had mentioned it to somebody. I'm not going to look it up. But season 3, best so far out of the first 3. Season 4 is turning out to be pretty good. I'm a little bit under or around halfway through. I'm glad I started watching this show. Hopefully by the time I get to season 15, season 16 will be on Netflix.
Oh, does it only go up to... Oh, no, season 16 is the last one, right?
Yeah, season 16 ends in 2 weeks. Or probably a week after this.
Wait,
it was 3
weeks. Did they
weeks.
actually have 16 seasons, or did they make the last 3 episodes its own season?
I had somebody on Facebook say that that Supernatural ends in 3 weeks. Or there's 3 more episodes left of Supernatural. So
it looks like it's season 15 still.
Oh, maybe there's only 14 seasons on Netflix.
I'm just checking to make sure that I'm not wrong about this. Yeah, no, so yeah, season 15 is what ends on the 19th of November.
Okay, so then there is...
Oh, wow, they had a lot more episodes to go than I realized.
There are 15 there are 15 seasons on Netflix, but it only goes up to
episode
13, Destiny's Child.
Yep, and that aired in March of last year, and then 14 through 20 have been airing now. So like 14 was last holiday, and that aired on the 8th of October. Okay. And then the finale airs on the 19th of November.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize, for some reason I thought they only had like 3 or 4 episodes they were airing, but it's 7.
Yeah, I thought it was already done when I started this. I didn't realize there were more. So that's why it confused me.
But I mean, frankly, by the time you get up to the 15th season and finish it, like, it's going to be long over.
Yeah, so I am on episode 15 out of 22 of season 4. So I made pretty good way through season 4. This is where they start like incorporating the fight between heaven and hell, and finally introduce angels, which have been thought to be fake in the series up until now.
Okay.
And this is after Dean's first death. I think he dies like 3 times. And so this is after Dean's first death and was pulled out of hell from an angel.
Now, I always forget, is Dean the one with the long hair or the short hair?
Short hair. He's Jared Padalecki, who will be in...
No, you got those confused.
Did I?
Yeah.
Is Dean Jensen Ackles?
If he's got the short hair, yes.
Okay. Then Jared Padalecki is going to be in The Boys next season.
No, you just did it. You literally just did it to yourself again. Jensen Ackles is going to be in The Boys. He's got short hair.
Okay, yeah. So Jensen Ackles is Dean. He's going to be in The Boys. Yes. I thought it was Jared that was going to be in I thought the name was Jared that was going to be in The Boys. But I always was like, I knew it was going to be Dean. Dean is definitely somebody who would be in The Boys. He's a good douchebag actor.
But you got their actual real
I got their
swapped.
Actual real names swapped.
All right. Well, tell us about Mothra versus Godzilla.
Yeah. So Mothra versus Godzilla was probably the most entertaining Godzilla movie thus far. The first 2, Godzilla and Godzilla Raids Again, they were more like deep and like underlying story of surviving the atomic bombs more so than anything else. And there wasn't a lot of like real like monster mayhem in those. Like, yeah, Godzilla destroys a city in the first Godzilla movie, but that like takes place near the end, and you have an hour of like them just trying to figure out how to deal with Godzilla and like comparing him to the atomic bomb. And then in Godzilla Raids Again, he fights the monster and then just runs off somewhere. This is the first time where like this is the first entertaining one, because King Kong vs. Godzilla, at least the version I watched, fucking sucked. It's probably because it was the American version. And I liked it. It had more to do with like the monsters and less to do with like the actual people aspect. It was weird because like they found Mothra's egg, and I knew Mothra was going to die because that's generally the course that Mothra takes. Mothra dies. Her essence becomes a new like slug type thing that then cocoons and becomes the new Mothra.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's generally how it goes. So like in Godzilla King of Monsters, the one that came out in 2018, Mothra dies and uses her power. She's known as the Queen of Monsters. She uses her power on Godzilla to supercharge him and make him, like, more capable of fighting Ghidorah. But, like, she'll come back to life.
In that one from just, like, a year or two ago, could she talk through, like, weird little alien creatures the way she can in the old one?
No. So she couldn't even really talk through them. They had, it was weird. They were, like, little sized, like the size of my, like, large Yankees cup that I'm drinking out of, that I don't know the fluid ounces for this. I'm trying to see if it's on here somewhere.
It's like a 32-ounce cup.
Yeah, like, they're the size of that. But then her tribe are normal-sized people. It's just those two girls are tiny creatures.
Oh, see, I thought they were, like, normal-sized human creatures because she was, like, a big monster.
No. They're small. The two girls are small, and Mothra is huge compared to Godzilla. Like, Mothra is probably twice the size of Godzilla. But
oh, wow, I didn't realize that.
Was at the end of her life span, so, like, she couldn't really effectively fight Godzilla that well. And this is also the final movie where Godzilla is an antagonist. Following this point on, he's, I guess or at least for the next movie, probably could call him an anti-hero, because he's there to fight Ghidorah, but, like, he's also just going to destroy things, I guess. I don't know. I haven't watched it.
Right, because Mothra is more of the hero, right?
Yeah, Mothra is the hero in this one. It's Mothra versus Godzilla, not Godzilla versus Mothra. Like, otherwise it would be the other way around. I guess King Kong was kind of looked at as the hero in King Kong vs. Godzilla. Because Godzilla just, like, woke up and started walking through Japan, and they're like, oh, well, let's use King Kong, and then King Kong started destroying Japan as well.
But it's funny because, like, Godzilla should be much larger than King Kong.
They definitely, well, yes. They definitely sized up King Kong for that movie. And then they greatly sized up King Kong in the legendary film, that had, Loki and Captain Marvel in it.
No, he's actually still not, like, he is still significantly smaller than what Godzilla would be. That's why people were, like, questioning. It's like, how are you guys going to do that when King Kong is magnitude smaller than the Godzilla that you've shown in these movies already?
And that's also, that movie took place in the 30s, where they're then going to be in, like, the mid-2020s, or not 30s, in the 70s, where the next one's going to be the mid-2020s. So, 40 years can grow a creature quite a bit, or 50 years. So I guess that'll explain that. But no, I thought he was pretty damn big in that one.
He's big, but he's not that big. He's average King Kong size.
I think he's larger than King Kong size in that one, like average, because he is much bigger than, like, what the Empire State Building would be. Like,
no, because he's still, like, hold a human in his hand, but not, like, completely enveloped.
It's been a while since I watched that movie. That was a good movie. I haven't watched it since I saw it in theaters. So I'd have to go back and check. But yeah, Mothra vs. Godzilla was good. I liked it. It was entertaining. It was some really weird themes. The egg, Mothra's egg washes up on shore, and then somebody just decides, oh well, they can just buy it from the fisherman who brought it up on shore, because that's just how life works, and buy the land around where it was shored up, and decide to make a theme park centered around the egg.
That seems like a good idea.
And then, while they're, like, making up the plans for the theme park, the two girls are like, they're going to destroy everything. The baby will destroy everything, inadvertently, because it's gonna hatch out, eat shit, and then go to our island. Just give us our egg back. Mothra wants her child back. And they were like, no. So then it was a whole, like, we need to give it back, you don't have right to claim it, you shouldn't have been able to buy it. Like, a different dynamic than what we had seen in previous Godzilla movies, kind of. And then Godzilla, like, just comes out of nowhere and starts, that's what it is. Godzilla, at the end of King Kong vs. Godzilla, he fell into the water. And then in this one, because they were trying to, like, develop land around the water, they had been draining a lagoon. And it was a big, like, oceanside lagoon, so they had, like, built up levees and been draining it. And from them draining it, Godzilla emerges from the dirt because he was in the dirt, like, dormant until the sun hit him or something, I guess. It makes no sense.
Yeah, they really do find just whatever reason they can to bring this fucking monster out.
Yeah, so King Kong vs. Godzilla raids again. He was avalanched with ice and snow. And then the reason he escaped from the ice in King Kong vs. Godzilla is because the submarine that had noticed his radiation had ran into his iceberg and cracked it just enough to where he was able to break loose. Like, it was the dumbest thing. But yeah, they just try to find ways. At the end of this one, they, the two Mothra, bug things, cause there's two of them, not just the one, they cover him in silk and push him into the ocean.
Nice.
And then they run off themselves. And so then he's gonna somehow break free from the silk in I think it's Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster is the next movie. And then Invasion of Astro Monster is the next one after that, but they're both Ghidorah. It's
Okay.
weird. Yeah.
What's the flying one?
Rodan. And his first appearance is in Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. And Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra all work together to fight Ghidorah.
Which that's basically what that King of Monsters is, right?
In King of Monsters, are you talking about 2018?
Yeah.
In King of Monsters, they did it differently. Rodan was in it, but he fought alongside Ghidorah because Ghidorah was the alpha. And so he was fighting alongside the alpha and fought against Godzilla, and then at the end conflict, he fought against Godzilla and Mothra with Ghidorah, and then eventually, after he won, he bowed his head to the new king and alpha of the Titans, Godzilla.
Okay.
I literally, after watching Mothra vs. Godzilla, I was like, you know what's on here? I'm gonna watch King of Monsters. I had like 2 hours left before I had to go to bed, and I'm like, I'm not gonna play anything. I'm just gonna watch this because I've been wanting to. And one thing that I didn't notice before, because I had never actually sat there to watch these, in that movie, I'd have to double check the first of the legendary Godzilla movies. They reused the theme from the original Godzilla movies. Like the songs in the background.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which, like, when I caught that, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like, I never would have known that without watching without having HBO Max. And, like, that's one thing I absolutely love when they do, like, remakes or sequels or something of older movies, is when they reuse the themes in some form. I can't remember how it goes to be able to, like, mimic it right now, but, like, it is a pretty good theme, and I'd say, like, check it out if you have a chance. The Godzilla, original Showa era Godzilla theme. It's pretty good. I like it.
That seems like a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably for you.
So what's the next one you're watching? It's the...
I believe it is the Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, or the Invasion of Astro Monster. I can't remember. Let me look it up real quick. The next one is Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, and that has King Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, and Godzilla. And then Invasion of Astro Monster has King Ghidorah and Rodan.
Okay.
And then the next one after that would be Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, which has Ebirah, Mothra, and the Okonodoru, which I have no idea what that is.
Neither do I.
But Ghidorah and Mothra vs. Godzilla came out in 1964, and then Astro Monster came out in 1965. Ebirah comes out in 1966.
Oh, wow. So two of them came out in the same year.
Yeah, that happens a few times following this. So it's like Mothra vs. Godzilla and Ghidorah was 1964, and 1968 just has so many goddamn monsters in it that it's a huge box. Never mind. Yeah, that's the only time it happens. Probably because it's a Mothra movie and not a Godzilla movie. I don't know.
I mean, that might be it, like, because Mothra debuted prior to that movie.
Yeah. So maybe, like, they tied it in with Mothra vs. Godzilla, and they knew that they were going to have Mothra in Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. They wanted to tie that all together.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like it adds up.
Yeah.
Well, that might be an episode right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds about right.
All right. Well, if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also support us over at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't help us there with your dollars, though, you can head over to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Stitcher, etc. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All of those things help. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/OneQuestOnline or at @1_Quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/OneQuestVideo, and you can send us emails to social@one-quest.com. Next week, we will record before PS5's release, so there won't be any PS5 talk, but there'll be something.
Yeah, I'm sure. Unless we want to... I mean, I won't be able to play it until late Thursday because I have stupid work, so...
Yeah, and you don't even know what time it's going to arrive, so...
Yeah, so there's no point even trying to hold up.
Yeah, so, 2 weeks from now, someone will talk about PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.